No. So welcome to the second sprint review for our group for the pizza app that we're developing. And we'll go ahead and start off the meeting with the first question, and that's what has been our progress so far. So Aaron's going to talk about that, and he's going to actually demonstrate to us what has been done so far using the app.
Okay, so in our last meeting, I kind of went over our app, and you were able to see how it looks, how it functions, and I'm going to go over right now some things we've done to make it a little bit better and what we've done to improve it. So right now, you can see we've changed the color to be more of a pleasant color that Colton's going to talk about, and when we play with the slider, before when we did it, when we slid stuff over, we wouldn't have the numbers show until we let go. But as you can see, the numbers are moving as I move the slider. And so we did that on all of the sliders, and while maintaining the functionality of the app. So at the bottom, you can still see the cost per person would be $178, and each person will get 12 pieces of pizza. So that's the things we've done to improve our app, and we're working to just keep that up, keep improving things, making more options for the users, making input boxes and drop down boxes so that anyone coming to use the app can choose what they like, what they want to use. Some people would prefer a slider, but some people would not want to use a slider. They would want to use a drop-down box because they think that's the best. Or some people would just want to input the exact number without having to mess with the other things. So that's what we're working on and working towards, is just improving it each week.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
Just leave it on that.
Yeah, just leave it on that. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron, for that. And so the next question that we wanted to discuss in our meeting was, how have the users been responding to the new user interface idea? So the color and even the options in the future that we have. So Colin's going to discuss that.
So we made a goal last week that we were going to go and show the app to as many people as we could. Originally, we got this idea to even make the app at my work. I work in a room of developers, and they like to have their pizza delivered to them, and they always split pizza. And they would always argue about how many slices each person got, how much money each person had to spend. So you know, when we decided to think of a project, that's the reason we decided on this. So our main audience as of now is that room of people. So I made sure to take the app to them, show them, you know, the app, and mainly just the looks of it. And they commented that our old color scheme was kind of boring and dull and didn't make them excited. So as a group, we kind of got together and looked over colors and what they mean, and learned about color scheme a little bit more. And we learned that, you know, this orange and yellow color scheme kind of means creativity. And as you can see, it's kind of a gradient. It starts light and gets darker, and then light again down here. And if you were on a mobile device or something, it would be more of a gradient, and it looks a lot cleaner and nicer on a mobile device. But we kind of learned that this orange was more pleasing to the eye, made people want to use it more, essentially made them happier. So that's why we decided to go with that color. And will probably be, when you hover over the button, it also changes into the same color. So that worked out really nicely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And so, like Colton's been saying, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on this, and we're excited to see what we'll do in the future. So that leads on to our next question, and we need to discuss what our goals for the next sprint will be. So we're just going to have a general discussion with all of us on what we want to do. I know we have some thoughts and ideas from our last planning poker meeting as far as what we want to do, but maybe we can discuss that a little more in depth.
Okay.
Well,
So-
I know that in meeting with the users, you know, they were really focused on getting not so much an input box next to each of the sliders, you know, but they wanted maybe a drop down. So right here, there would be a drop down, you'd click on it and it'd go 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, and you could have a drop down for each one, so they didn't have to slide and make sure they were on the exact number. They could just hurry and quickly do, you know, drop down, pick, drop down, pick. So maybe we could think about adding that or some input boxes or
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea this week. We could actually implement having that drop down box, which actually we had thought about before, and we had one person that was not very open-minded, convinced us not to use drop down boxes, but as we've been talking to more and more people, that's something that people like. They like to have that another option if they don't like to use the slider. So I think that would be a good thing to implement for our users.
And I know we talked about briefly that people, I mean, in smaller groups, the
It's still going.
Yeah, we're going.
okay, yeah. So we talked about in smaller groups, it makes more sense to have the drop down. But whereas bigger groups find the slider to be more useful. So like if there's more than 10 people, you know, pulling down the drop down and then scrolling all the way down to the bottom to a big number is kind of hard, but using the scroll gives them more options to have greater amount of people in the group. So I think the drop down will, plus the slider, will definitely improve kind of the overall usability of our app.
And that was one of our challenges with the slider is, okay, we want to have an option of a big group, but when you get the slider with a lot of numbers, to move it a tiny little bit changes it a whole lot. So if we have the option of having, you know, the drop down box, that will eliminate that problem.
Well, and then to be able to use those drop down boxes and then later on use a slider rather than the drop down box, just give them more options, make it a little bit easier, I think.
No, the slider will update with the selection of the drop down, right? So
Yeah.
like if I select 7,
You can
and
choose
the slider,
one or the other.
Yeah, it should. So it should.
It's not going to be a separate thing.
Yeah, but it should. Yeah. So if you do the slider, the option in the drop down box should
It
change.
should change,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
And vice versa.
And this will, yeah, hopefully. And this will give us an opportunity to incorporate some good error messages too.
Yeah.
Where before you couldn't really get an error, you just chose the 3 boxes and it would calculate, or the sliders. Now, you know, you either choose the drop down box or the slider. If they happen to choose both, you can't do that. It would need to throw an error. So we can incorporate, you know, useful error messages and stuff.
If each one updates live, though, would it need to have those error messages?
Well, if you had chosen a drop-down box and it said 3, and then the
Automatically
same, it would automatically update. But then on the same slider, you chose 3. You know, it would either calculate out to 6, or we would need to throw an error message saying, you know, you have to either use the drop-down box or you have to use the slider.
Okay.
So, because they couldn't use both on
Right.
the same line.
Right.
They could, but I don't know. We'll think about that.
Well, I think so. With what Aaron was saying, and what you were saying as well, I mean, whether or not they choose to edit the drop down or the slider, they'll both update live. So, like, let's say in your situation that you give, I edit the drop down, I choose 3, and then I go over to the slider and I choose 4. Like, when I changed the Dropbox, it updated the slider automatically, right? When I change the slider, it updates the Dropbox automatically. So it kind of prevents you from choosing.
Yeah,
two
we could
options.
do that. Yeah,
So
I see what you mean.
so yeah. So I think that's going to be our next sprint goal. I mean, that's going to be the big part of that, and we'll discuss that next week, hopefully with success. And we'll see. Okay, so that's it. Thanks, guys.